stage, Austin St. John.
Yes!
I feel like we need like one of those people movers in the airports or something. It's a little distance from the stage to here.
This is where theme music comes in.
This is for you.
How you guys doing?
Dude!
That is cool, man. I tell you what, Oklahoma, I have a cousin in Mustang. Anybody from Mustang? No?
No.
I knew that one.
Nobody told you about the Tulsa Mustang rivalry, I guess.
Oh, is there? Oh, okay. Like, look up. So, anyway, all right, I'll stop there.
So the way this is set up, this is designed to be a Q&A. You guys have questions, Austin has answers. We have a microphone for you to use as you have questions. Feel free to line up. We'll get through as many as we can in the short time we have together. Additionally, if you have mobility issues, if just talking into a microphone is not your thing, we also have a number that you can text. Once we kind of get to that portion of the discussion, you guys can text us your questions as well. I'll read through those as we have time, and we'll get as many of your questions as we can answered in the short time that we have. We want to make it as all-inclusive as possible. So if you need to text as opposed to come to the mic, feel free to do that. That's what that's for. What have you got for us? You just sent me a video. Tell me a little bit about what we're doing.
Yeah, so, have any of you, other than have just been at my table, have you guys heard of the comic that I'm releasing called Redemption Comics? Woo! All right. That guy. He was there. All right. One guy. All right. I released book 1, and it sold out 3 times. I have some major publishers. Yeah, thank you. It's not easy to do. I have some publishers running me down. I've got a lot of good things going on. And really where this started was about 8 years ago. When I first came home, I guess March of 2014, I came home from overseas and came back to family and American life. And I started hearing about this little thing called anime. And I was like, what's an anime? And somebody showed me, and I was like, oh, it's a cartoon. They're like, no, it's not. Okay, it looks like a cartoon. It's not a cartoon. Okay, all right. And so then I sat down and I watched, and I was like, oh, this is definitely not like any cartoon I've seen. I mean, they like adult content. Like some of this stuff gets rough. I was like, wow, okay, so this is adultish and kind of cartoonish and kind of like, I don't know how to describe it really, other than cool. Some of it was really cool. And so I paid more attention, and I started seeing these anime artists, and they were out there and they were signing autographs, and they were signing autographs for free at the time. You know, they had these huge lines and just signed them for free, and I thought, wow, I'm really glad I never did anime. You know, but I saw how popular it was, and then I started thinking about Batman. Batman started out as pow bang boom. It started out really cheesy, right? Superman, first movie was kind of cheesy, and then now we have The Dark Knight. Superman, now we've got evil Superman, red lasers wiping out the planet Earth. I mean, like things are getting dark. Power Rangers, once and always. How many of you guys saw that? We just killed people for the first time ever on Power Rangers. So things are shifting, right? So I started with this idea. I thought, you know what? What would happen to Jason? What would he do after Power Rangers at the end of the world? If the world failed, what would Jason do? Who would he be? And the seed was planted, the idea was born, and I've spent about 7 years, now 6.5 years, coming up with what Jason would do at the end of the world 30 years after he hangs up the red suit. The title is Redemption, obviously a play on red because I don't own Power Rangers. The premise is Mad Max meets Lord of the Rings. So everything from demons to cannibals to scavengers to, I'm even going to throw in some Jaegers in later issues. It is a dark and twisted novel. This is not for the inner 5-year-old that grew up with Kimberly, Jason, and Trini. You know what I mean? This is for the adults that are looking for the dark side. There is a red power sword. You will see in issue 1, there's a girl in yellow, a little Asian girl. I I can't bring back Trini, but I can bring back a little Asian girl who is kind of like, I don't even want to tell you. I can tell you that she's the coolest thing ever. And you will see some really cool stuff. So this trailer is the first trailer I've done. This is the animated comic version of book 2. And the idea is to show you where the 50 comic books I'm going to do are going to go. It's going to be 50 comics. Then I'm going to turn it into a completely animated series. And then I'm going to turn it into a live video game. This happens a whole lot faster when I launch Kickstarter number 2, probably in about 10 days. If you guys finance, if you guys get big and you're interested and you enjoy these things, then I can get to that animated series a whole lot faster because it's not cheap. So while I said at one point I was glad I didn't do anime, now I look around and see what anime artists are doing and I'm like, man, I wish I did anime. So I'm creating my own, and my goal is to bring in some of the biggest voices out there. Johnny Young Bosch is a good friend of mine. I'd love to bring Johnny's voice in. I'd love to bring in other Ranger voices. I'm friends with Winnie the Pooh. He probably wouldn't touch anime. I know Jim very well. But I know some big voices out there that I think would love to be a part of this. So give it a watch, and let me know what you think. In book 1, which is sold out 3 times, the book, the world ends in book 1. You watch it fail. In book 2, the survival story begins. And I think you might enjoy it. Let me know what you think. Sound?
Sure, our sounds are. We'll bring up the. Bring up 9. We're gonna restart it, so don't worry. Go ahead, pause it. Yeah, I know. Go ahead, pause it. All right, let's try it again. All right, we're gonna start from the beginning. Here we go.
Who's that guy? And there's a red power sword. This is one of the covers coming out for book 2. So that Scantron right there, if you have your phone, thank you very much. If you have your phones, if you want, whip them out. Anybody that registers there before I launch the Kickstarter will get several free things. They're gonna get some free stickers. There's some of the covers. I have partnered with another comic book company, so I'm going to send out free 2 #1 comics via PDF if you get registered before I launch the comic. And there's some other things that I'm working on giving away for free just because it's cool. So a lot of cool stuff coming. You guys have any questions about the Kickstarter or about the comic or about the direction or anything like that?
Yeah, go ahead, what's your question?
It's a good question. So what gave me the idea to start at the end of the world, essentially? I read a lot of, I read a ton. I've got thousands and thousands of books. Everything from professional, from medical periodicals to fantasy and post-apocalyptic, dystopian type stuff. And I've always just loved the post-apocalyptic, end of the world, survival, desperation kind of stories. I've always loved that. But I've also always loved the fantasy world. Druids, demons, elves, cannibals, wizards, sages, reincarnation, stuff like that. And I thought, okay, well, Lord of the Rings was a huge world. Those are 3-hour movies because they're massive. And I thought, you know what? Mad Max was kind of cool. Lord of the Rings was kind of cool. What if I throw all of that into one book, into one storyline? Now I'm going to create a world, and I'm already doing it. I'm also working on having all these comics already turned into a 4 or 5 book novel. So it is going to be a humongous world. So and there's a lot of personal touches. On book 1 of the covers has got my parents on it. I lost my dad a little over a year ago, and I put him on the Patriot cover because that was how I'm going to immortalize my mom and dad. They're both on that cover. The husband and wife that come up missing in book 1, that's my wife and daughter's names, Kelly and Mackenzie. Those of you who are Rangers fans, it is not Power Rangers, but when he walks into the city, after you see the world end in book 1, and it's not zombies. I love zombies. I love zombie movies. Like, I can eat a box of popcorn and watch a zombie movie, but I couldn't bring myself to do another zombie movie. So instead, I went another direction, which I think you might find interesting. One of the things that I really wanted to do with it was have you wondering, what is this? What's going on here? And so while Reaper, and that's one of the titles or one of the slogans, it's from Ranger to Reaper. As you'll see that coming out soon, from Ranger to Reaper. He goes looking for his wife and daughter. And when he comes walking into Angel Grove, he passes one of the city signs. Well, it's missing a few letters. It doesn't say Angel Grove, but if you put all the letters in there, it could. You know what I mean? At the end of the world, it's kind of like a Hollywood sign that's been beat up and missing a few letters. The little girl in yellow who comes back at key moments when Reaper's in trouble. Could be important. There's a red sword, a red power sword, which we're going to find out has been passed down through the millennia. We're going to find out a lot of cool stuff. I'm getting ready. Book 2 is written and done. I'm getting ready to launch that. Books 3 through 7 are almost finished. And then books 7 through 10, and I'm going to do a graphic novel. And you guys are going to have a massive storyline. I think my goal is to create another animated series, the likes of which you guys don't have. So, and I'm going to bring together voices from all the biggest animated shows. And my goal is to bring in Yu-Gi-Oh! And Naruto and all of these, Ichigo, and all these cool voices and fandoms, and I want to slam them into one pie. And I want to have everybody going crazy in one new animated project. And I can and will succeed, especially if you guys help me out.
Right on. Thank you for sharing that with us. So, questions you guys have? Again, this is your microphone. This is your time. Feel free to come on up. If for some reason, if you want to bring that down and put the slide back up, if for some reason you can't make it up to the microphone or your anxieties, whatever the case might be, we do have a number you can text your questions. We'll try to get through some of those as well. So in the time that we have, we'll get through as many as we can. If we don't get to all the questions, it's my fault because I'm the one that has to keep us on time. But you'll be at your table all weekend. So all the photos, all the questions you guys have, autographs, all of that can be done. So let's start with you, and then we will go through as many questions as we can. Go ahead. No, you're fine.
First things first, I want to thank you specifically because when I was 7, my dad put me in front of a TV and your face was the first thing I saw during that opening, which kind of got me hooked. And I named my first child after Jason.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Which is ironic, he doesn't like Power Rangers. But he loves American Ninja Warrior. It's weird. Not the point. Right. The point is after 30 years of being a Power Rangers fan, I missed my opportunity to come meet you last year. So I could not miss the opportunity this year. And I had to come and say thank you. And when it comes to your dad passing away, my condolences. My dad passed away 10 years ago next month, and he was the reason why I started watching Power Rangers in the first place. I actually wanted to bring his urn with me so he could be with me when I finally met you, but I actually kind of forgot it in my office yesterday. But not the point. The point is that he's up there finally seeing that I finally get to meet you, and it's a dream come true after 30 years. Thank you. That's all I have.
No, it's okay.
Thanks, man.
It's emotional, man. Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
Wow, I can't follow that.
Yeah, follow that one.
I'm gonna try. But yeah, Austin, man, I'm just gonna say that not to make you feel old or anything. the first costume I got to choose that I remember actually being able to pick was the Red Power Ranger when I was in kindergarten. So, thank you for being a big part of
Yeah,
it.
man, my
pleasure. Man, what was the training like to get ready for a role like that? Obviously, a very physical role. And was there any like lasting effects or anything like that?
So, the physical part of the role was actually the easiest part for me. I've been in martial arts since I was 5. My whole life, I would wake up in the morning, do martial arts in the morning with family, and then I would go to school. After school, I would go to football, baseball, crew, or whatever sport I was doing, do full-blown sports, junior high and high school. And then after that, then I would go to the dojo, and I would train with Sensei Sifu, Sabo Nim, depending on the art I was in. And then I would go home and do my homework, eat dinner, do my chores, and go to bed. Like, that was my life. And my whole life. So I was in insane shape the day I got hired. And the martial arts was the one thing they didn't have to teach me. It was everything else they had to teach me. I didn't know how to act. I didn't know what to do in front of cameras. I didn't know what the people behind the cameras did. I knew nothing. I was literally a high school kid with attitude. I dropped out of high school to take the job, which did not make my dad happy. So I learned how to act. I learned how to be a part of Hollywood. Finished up, and then after Hollywood, I went and got my GED. Then I got 2 college degrees, and life went on. But the martial arts and the fighting, I guess I did learn gymnastics. Gymnastics was not something I was super good at prior, so I did get together with stunt guys, and we did trade knowledge. So there was always an exchange, because we had a real spread of different kinds of martial artists. So while, I may have a skill set over here that I was good at, like Kempo was really my favorite, but they didn't like it because it was really, really rapid hands, and it was up close and personal. The big sweeping kicks looked a lot better on camera, so they wanted me to do that. But we would get together and train off camera all the time and just exchange knowledge. So while that wasn't mandatory, it certainly happened.
Thank you. Good question. Come on up.
I just mostly have one question.
Yeah.
It's mostly about people you work with. Like, what was it like working with Jason when he did his first scene on the Power Rangers?
There was 4 of us. Which Jason?
Jason David, sorry.
You talking about the very first day he came on set?
Yeah.
I don't really remember it being, anything unusual. We had new people on set all the time. I think on day 1 it was, just meeting him and getting an understanding for who he was, what his skill sets were. I remember being relieved that he was a martial artist, because I knew that he and I would be able to put together some good fights. And he came on and he was a professional and he did his job, and I did mine. We all did our jobs. Now, once we all got comfortable, then our teenage sides came out. And there may or may not have been pranks at other points, but by and large, for the most part, on set, we all did our jobs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, bud.
Nice suit.
Do you have a question?
Yeah. Hi, Austin.
Let me bring this down.
Hey, you were always my favorite Power Ranger, so from Red.
Thanks, man.
My son is dying to ask you a question, though.
What's your question, buddy?
How did the Power Rangers morph in the old days when Rita was acting no good?
How did we morph in the old days?
Yeah,
When Rita was going to attack us?
yeah.
Well, did you ever notice that it always took about 20 minutes? And there was a lot of posing.
I remember when you raised your, morphers up to the sky and called your name the dinosaur.
Tyrannosaurus!
Yep.
You remember that? There you go. Yeah. Well, there was lots of... How old are you, buddy?
Yes, I can see that. And, 8.
8. Okay. All right. So let's...
I really like the Tyrannosaurus dinosaur, and I did not know that the Power Rangers locked onto their swords.
It was kind of cool.
Yeah.
you ever try to spell Tyrannosaurus?
I think so.
It wasn't until I started signing autographs I learned how to spell it. It's a big word. It's not like it's up there with your spelling in 8th grade.
I know. Well,
Yeah.
I know how the Power Rangers logged on to the Zords, including the black one and the blue one and the yellow one and the pink one.
Yeah, you got it.
I remember all the other Power Rangers had the Mastodon, Triceratops, Pterodactyl, and Saber-Tooth Tiger Zords.
That's right.
This kid's a walking encyclopedia of
Do you
Power
know-
Rangers knowledge.
Do you know what the hard part was?
Yeah,
It's just like before you get into a car to go on a car trip, how you have to go pee first.
amazing.
Before you put on that whole suit, before you morphed,
What?
you gotta go
What?
to the bathroom.
What's going on?
What's that?
I saw somebody dressed up in a Red Ranger suit, and I remember when Rita used her wand thing to make
To make her monster grow?
yeah, and I remember how she made Vince their makeup and she sent out their putty patrollers.
That's right.
And I bet the Power Rangers were like,
That's right. And the Putty Patrol, they always sounded like angry turkeys.
that was really amazing.
It was amazing. Good question, big guy. Well, good job. Angry turkeys.
Yeah, that is interesting that everything paused while you guys got your suits on and your poses down.
It was like 30 minutes. Half the episode was the morph.
Yeah.
It's morphin' time, and you pose, and hold, and explosion behind you, and now you pose, and hold, and explosion behind you. We're gonna need a third explosion here. Can we bring this one close? All right, now for the close-up on the explosion. Moving in close-up, and hold, and explosion. Good. Now we're gonna need a pose. Let's bring in the graphics. Graphics over the morph. Now cut away to Goldar, standing there looking very frustrated. Okay, now cut back to, now it's Billy's turn, and morph, and pose, and hold, and explosion. And it just kept going. And now pull out for the wide shot, and super explosion with the really cool pose. And it was crazy. I love it.
The bad guys all took their smoke breaks and
Yeah, there
we're back here to fight. I get to watch this. It was a good time. Go ahead. What's your name?
My name is Clay, and
Look
I
more
know
like Vegeta
due
to me.
to certain reasons you weren't able to go to New Zealand for once and always. Have you heard any wind of any other anniversary projects you might get to be part of?
Well, I turned them down. So they asked me, they asked Amy, they asked Jason Frank. We all had invites, and we all turned them down. There will always be other offers, I'm sure. I've been back several times, and there'll be more of it.
Hi, what's your name?
My name is Isaac, and if Jason had an arch nemesis in the Power Rangers series, who would it have been?
Goldar.
I mean, Goldar and Jason fought like most kids eat peanut butter sandwiches today.
Every other episode.
But I gotta say, the real nemesis, the one that's there in every episode that nobody I think really thinks about, and they rarely ever get credit for, are the buddies.
Oh, that's fair.
I mean, they're there every episode, and without them, you didn't have any warm-up fight, because the formula was always the same. You fight the buddies, you defeat the buddies, then a monster shows up, then you defeat the monster, then the monster grows, and then you morph, and then you get into the Megazord, and then there's lots of posing, and I mean, that's the whole formula. But I also have to say that Evil Tommy, I wonder sometimes, remember the 2017 film where they kind of allude to Rita in green and Tommy having that connection?
Yeah.
And then they allude that Zordon was the Red Ranger, and that's how he and Jason got connected. I wonder if in all the parallel universes that we're doing in Marvel and DC, and I gotta tell you, I think there's some other parallel universes coming up for Power Rangers. Because now that we've killed bad guys, and Hasbro owns Transformers, they own G.I. Joe, and they own Power Rangers. And if you watch the last Transformers film, a little kid comes out with a Power Ranger shirt on. So I'm wondering what's coming. So I think it could be, I mean, it could have been an evil Tommy character. It could have definitely been Goldar. Goldar Maximus kind of threw me off a little bit in the later episodes, but I did it.
Used to build swords.
And then, I guess I would have to probably stay with one of those two. I mean, one of those two would be the ones that I think would, if they brought an evil Tommy back and put Jason in against an evil Tommy, I think the whole world would tune in yesterday. That would capture the world.
Okay, and another question. Out of all the episodes, which was the favorite monster that you guys did?
It would be, yeah, okay. All right, so I got several layers here. Scorpina was hot. She was my favorite one to look at while fighting. Divatox was pretty cute. Probably after that, I mean, Pudgy Pig was, you guys remember
Pudgy Pig was my favorite.
Who can't?
Yeah, Pudgy Pig, he was just so dumb, I loved him. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, and then Trini feeds him the radish sandwich and he spits all our weapons out. I was like, only Power Rangers writers can come up with this. I think my favorite monster to hate was the clown, Pineapple the Clown. I hated that guy. I didn't hate him, I hated the line. Because as an 18-year-old boy, I had a line. It was, you're going down, clown. Well, I grew up watching Dirty Harry and Chuck Norris. So I kept coming around trying to deliver that line like Chuck Norris and Dirty Harry. You know, you're going down, clown. And the director's like, cut! You're an 18-year-old boy. Lighten it up a little, take two. By take 22, I finally gave up and did it his way. But, so that's my favorite monster to hate because I wanted to be a tough guy and they're like, you're 18, do it our way.
All right. Good question. We had a text question. Someone asked, with the upcoming Kickstarter for Book 2 Redemption, is there a way to get Book 1 still?
Yes, so when the Kickstarter launches, there will be a Book 1 and Book 2 package. You'll be able to get Book 1 and Book 2 both PDF, or you can order them in regular copies, or you can get them graded in slab. So you can spend anywhere from $6 for a PDF all the way up to $1,100 if you want to have your company ad drawn into Book 3. There's also a tier where if you want to have your face drawn into Book 3 as a bad guy or someone that gets killed, or a cannibal or a scavenger, I mean, there's a tier where you can do that too. There's lots of ways to get involved. So as little as $6, as much as $1,100. Totally up to you. But both books will be available.
And someone asked, who are the artists on the books, and what other work have they done? What can you kind of point towards?
Yeah, great question. So Book 1 covers, I had David Sanchez, who's done cover work for Boom, who's done cover work for DC. He did kind of a hardcore warrior cover. It's really twisted. It's one of my favorite covers. You'll know when you see it. The guy's holding an M4. It looks like something out of if you could take a modern day special operator and put him in Viking fur and then give him an M4, that's the David Sanchez cover, and I love it. It's an amazing cover. So he's done Boom in DC. I had Cole Hayes. Cole Hayes is a new up-and-coming artist. He did the Patriot cover, and that one is, dog tags and flags and my parents, and my dad's in his Marine Corps uniform and stuff like that. I had Ken R. Salinas, who did a cover where it's red, and it's kind of like, it almost looks like an astronaut suit. But you see the outline of a head, and inside it you see these skulls and evil things. And that one really is about the fact that every man has his demons. So you should check that one out too. And Ken has his own art platform called Voodoo's. And you can find him on Instagram. He's pretty amazing. And then the other one was Qua. Qua's done everything. Tons of more. I think he just signed on for another 7 Marvel covers. Alan Quaz, Marvel, DC, Boom. He's done covers for anybody and everybody. He's amazing. And then I had several other independent covers done that I gave exclusives to comic shops. And then on Book 2, I have all of those artists except David Sanchez didn't do a cover for Book 2 yet. I'm sure he'll be back in the future. Alan Quah did not do a book 2. Instead, I brought I have Cold Haze. I have Ken Salinas, who did a wicked-looking cover of Reaper standing over a pile of bodies with a blade out and just blood everywhere in the pouring rain. It's rough. It's super cool. One of my favorite covers, and that was Ken Salinas. And then I brought in Zach Spivey, and I had him give the first idea of a cover of one of the under demons. So you just see this huge demonic looking thing that will be developed at a later date. So you see some cool stuff.
Right on. We also have a question here. How hard was it? What was the process to get into that suit? The red spandex.
First thing you did was go to the bathroom if you were smart, because you could be in that suit forever. And I wasn't flexible. You know, women are used to reaching around back there and doing things and undoing things, right? We as guys, I can't reach back there. That doesn't work for me, right? So if I had to use the restroom, the zipper was here, and it came all the way down to my butt. How am I gonna? I couldn't do that. So as a man, as a manly man at 18, because you think you're tough, right? And so you gotta walk over to one of the other people, somebody, one of the girls or one of your buddies, and be like, hey, could you unzip me? It's a little awkward, I'm just saying. So anyway, so there were pieces. The boots were leather, and then the first thing that went on was compression underwear, because they didn't want other things out there visible for the world.
Children's show, right?
Right. And by the time you put on 3 pairs of compression underwear,
You're pretty compressed.
you were depressed and depressed. So, you were also suited to guard the queen at that point. So anyway, and so once the suit was on, you got the suit on, and then you put on the neck piece and pull that up over. I got away sometimes without the secondary headpiece because I didn't have long hair, but anybody that had the longer hair, they had to wear the secondary headpiece to cover up their heads, which just made you extra miserable in the sun. The gloves would come on, and then you had the gauntlets, they would slide up over the gloves. And they learned not to make those one piece, because if they did, anytime we would block or strike, we could tear them into seams. Or at least that's what they did with mine. And then you had the pieces that had armor, like my Gold Ranger suit, where you had these huge shoulder pieces, and then the bicep pieces, and then knee pieces, and just armor everywhere. Frank had it with his green suit and his white suit. Other Rangers in the future had it. And it always looked really heavy, but when they got really good at taking styrofoam, spraying it with a polymer to keep it really light, and then you could do things in it. So the only thing it really did was limit your range of motion, whatever you were doing for your fight. So, but I mean, it wasn't impossible. It was.
We have a question that says, now that you are interested more in anime, are there any shows you wish you had the chance to do voiceovers?
I've got friends on so many anime shows. I think it would have been fun to drop in. To probably Dragon Ball Z would have been some fun. Probably any of Johnny's shows. I mean, he's been on a million. Some of the video games these guys have done. I think that could have been cool.
Monster.
So I think a lot of that could have been a lot of fun. I don't know if I could pick any one, because there's things I like about all of them. Ichigo and all. Just a lot of cool stuff out there.
Is voice acting something that you've considered?
I guess there is.
It's literally why I'm making my comic, right? To create my own animated series. So I've got another buddy who's got some books that he wants me to help him turn into audio books. So I'm going to be doing a lot of voice work here soon. It's great.
Other questions? This is kind of I don't want to call it last call, but we're starting to run down on our time. If you guys have questions, feel free to step up to the microphone. If not, yeah, go ahead. While you're coming up, I'm going to look and see. I know we've had a few others that were sent to us as well. Hi, what's your name?
My name is Lashana.
Hi, Lashana. What's your question?
What was your favorite move to do on set?
move?
What's your favorite fight?
All of them. Yeah, I think they took the tornado kick and they made that my intro, which now the whole world associates as my favorite move. It just happens to be the one that they liked, that they put up there. I loved 360s, I loved 540s, I loved the butterfly kick. I loved a lot of other super cool aerial techniques. But my favorite fight moves were the ones that weren't always the greatest on TV because they were so close. So I'm a hands guy. I love being super close. And people are like, what? I'm like, yeah, the bigger the guy is, the closer I want to be to him. Because that's where I'm happy. I'll make Swiss cheese out of a big guy. It makes me happy. It's the little guys that get close to me. Then I know, wow, they might have the hand speed to compete. I got to be careful. You know what I mean? So it just, I'm a hands guy, but I'm proficient in throws. I'm okay on the ground. Steve Cardenas is really the ground guy. He's got a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But I dabble in everything. So I love stick fighting, I love blade work, I love all of it.
Thank you.
Good question.
You're welcome.
We had a question. Someone asked if you, let me make sure I read it correctly. Did you take anything from set? And if so, why did you take that particular item?
No. No, I never
You weren't the maniac?
No, I wasn't. I should have, damn it, but I never did. When I left set, I just took my stuff off, set it on my dressing room, couch or in the closet, and walked out. So it wasn't mine to take. I didn't take it. I can tell you there's some other guys that took stuff, and they talk about it all the time. It just wasn't me. So I think Walter had some stuff given to him, which is really cool. About a year ago, I had a guy come up to me with one of my shirts from set. And he's like, and I always marked my shirts because we had stunt guys. All of us had stunt guys, whether they tell you they didn't or not. Everybody had stunt guys. And so I had to mark my stuff so that they didn't tear up my clothes. And one of my shirts I ended up missing. Years later, I guess it was last year, this guy comes up and goes, hey man, I got this shirt from this guy who said he got it from set. He won it at an auction and said it was certified, said it was yours, and here's the the certificate and all this stuff. He's like, can you take a look at it and tell me if it's really yours? And I was like, people do this to me all the time and I end up usually breaking their heart. And he brought his up, and before I didn't care about the certificate. I took one look at the article and I was like, that's mine. I was like, where did okay, now tell me the story now you got that. And he's like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, what'd you pay for it? He's like, I got it for $100. I was like, I'll give you $150 right now. And so now I have the only piece that I've ever had from the show that I paid $150 for.
I'm sure he was happy to sell it to you.
Yeah, he was like 50% profit. You know, it was more often.
Someone asked, if you were never a Red Ranger, what other color ranger would you have loved to have been? So what's your color? If it's not red, what brings out your eyes?
What brings out my eyes?
Go Ranger.
Gold. I was a gold one, that's right. There you go. What about a camouflage ranger?
That'd be cool.
That'd be sick.
That'd be cool. Where'd Jason go? I don't know. He was just there. He was over there by the trees. I don't see him anymore.
Maybe like a full ghillie suit, like just all of a sudden like struggles hands up.
Yeah, like the ghillie rangers. Stand next to a tree. Like, which way did he go? I don't know. And then all you see is the eyes move.
Is that where Drax learned it?
See? Yeah. See, that could be fun. Yeah, I don't know. Or the polka dot ranger.
Dude,
Bring
that'd
the
be
70s back.
I think Skull would be more fit for that.
Maybe. Probably.
Any other questions? We're gonna run. Yeah, come on up.
If you could have been on any other Ranger show from Power Rangers in Space, any other iteration, which one would you like to have done?
That's tough. Which one was Dan Southworth on? Was that
Lost
SPD?
Galaxy, I think?
No, it wasn't SPD. Time Force Ranger. He was the Quantum Ranger. You
Oh,
guys-
yeah.
Yep.
Time Force.
Was it Time Force?
Time Force, yep.
I think I probably would have liked to
Our
work
first
with
year, 2 Red
Dan.
Rangers.
I worked with Johnny. Johnny was cool. Probably Dan. Probably. Or I tell you what. Let me tell you where I would really like to be. What season was it where they killed Zordon?
In space.
I would love to have been there because I would not have let that happen. You should have seen my face when I found out they killed Zordon. I almost died.
Okay, I had to ask the second question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you've been on, I believe in some way or form, you've been on the first 3 Power Ranger shows. What was the experience with the production team like? Was it the same production team, or was it a radically different experience for the first 3 seasons? Or the first 3 series?
I mean, the first season will always entirely. The pilot episode had a completely different production crew. Almost completely different production crew. So from the unaired pilot to the beginning of season 1, there were a lot of changes. Big changes that took place, cast and crew. And then we got a new Skull. Audrey Dubois, who was the Latin girl who played the first Yellow Ranger, was recast. And then we got Tweed, who became the new Trini that you guys know so much. And then we got the new Skull. The original Skull in the unaired pilot wasn't Jason Narby, it was another guy. So we got the new Skull, and he was amazing. We love Jason Narby. So a lot of changes there. And I think in addition to that, probably Time Force was definitely a different behind-the-scenes crew. I didn't know a lot of people. I definitely knew some. There were some still there. By the time I did Zeo, I definitely knew a lot of the behind-the-scenes people, not all of them. By the time I made it to Beast Morphers, I think there were 2 people left that I knew anywhere. And a cool story is the executive producer, he was a coffee getter. He was something called a PA on the very beginning of season 1. So he was a guy who would run and get everybody's coffee, and by the time I came back from Beast Morphers, he was running the show. So that was kind of cool. And that was about it. I don't know of anybody. Now they've shut it down, so I think everyone's gone.
Any questions? All right, this will be our last question of this session. Come on up.
First, do the last one. I'll take it.
There you go.
If you were given the option to reprise the role of Jason, but not as Red, but as Omega Red, would you take it?
In a heartbeat. I think that's a cool role. I love it.
But we need some more Jason, and as much as we all love Toronto, we love Omega Red. Then again, without Tweed, it'd be kind of difficult to do.
Yeah, I loved what they did with the whole Omega Red storyline, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever. So I love it kind of gives them a special operators sort of vibe.
And
So
the thought or the conversation with Time Force stuff like that brought that up to mind, because at that point, those 3 were still in space as the Omega Rangers, and I think at that point they had the extra 2 additions. I could be wrong, long stories, but I just came to mind. No one to bring it up, so I want to ask.
yeah, that would be pretty cool. I like the concepts of the whole Omega Red series.
Hey, have you guys had a good time today? Yes. All right. So, thank you. Austin will be at his table all weekend. That's where you can go to ask the questions you didn't get to ask, get the autographs, photos, all that. Before you guys leave, we have a request of all of you. We would like to get a photo with you for the convention's social media pages. So if you guys want to come up to the front here, just kind of fill in the space. We'll get a picture with you guys, and you can find yourselves on social media and tag yourselves. And I think that'll serve as a doctor's note if you missed work today.
Same thing. And plus I'm off on the weekends. I literally worked last night. So.
I got the frog. Awesome. Thanks. My sister made everything.